Hello everyone, welcome. I am Isha from the board and member committee of the Climate Students, and I'm currently based in Singapore. So today, the conference that we're doing will be hosted by myself and a few more from the committee. If you'd all like to maybe introduce yourself.
Yep, I can begin. So hi, I'm Victor. I'm from Stockholm, Sweden, and I'm part of the Climate Students Movements Board.
And hi everyone, my name is Adam. Sorry, Anna, I'll cut in. My name is Adam. I'm a past student of Uppsala in Sweden, and I'm a part of the member committee of the Climate Student Board. Go ahead, Anna, please.
Hello everyone, I'm Anna. I'm also in the board of the Climate Students, and I'm representing Uniclima, which is a climate students group in Brazil.
Okay, hello guys. I'm called Stewart Ajele from Kenya, but currently I'm studying in Hungary at the University of Debrecen as a master's student in environmental science. And I'm also happy to join you guys for the first time today. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, so maybe before we start, I'd just like to let everyone know that we'll be recording this session, and we're also going to be uploading this session on like our YouTube and our social media. So just to make everyone aware of that. Please also try to keep yourself muted when you're not talking, especially if other people are sharing or presenting. Also be good if you can rename yourself and maybe add your country at the end of your name so we can like kind of see where everyone is from. So let me just quickly share screen so you can take a look at the, sorry, give me a moment. Okay, so essentially this is our meeting outline for today, and for today's conference, we'll be covering these activities. So starting off, we'll be sharing a very relevant talk by Kevin Anderson, a professor of energy and climate change in both the UK and Sweden. I'll then share more about Climate Students Movement before Adam will welcome our members from Finland, Kenya, Sweden, Brazil, and Colombia, respectively. In between, we also have a short 10 minutes break for everyone before we end with Anna sharing some possible follow-up actions you can do and some events that you can attend. I'll just pass the time over to Adam, who can share the video.
Yes, thank you very much. So here we go.
Hello, my name is Kevin Anderson. I'm Professor of Energy and Climate Change. I have a joint appointment between the Tyndall Centre at the University of Manchester, CEMUS at the University of Uppsala, and CET at the University of Bergen. Rosemary asked me to contribute to your event tomorrow, but unfortunately I had something already scheduled for then. So she sent me a few questions, 4 questions through, and asked if I'd make a quick reply to those. So I've pulled together a brief PowerPoint going through those points here. So hopefully it will be helpful for you tomorrow. So the first question I was asked was, why is it important that scientists and higher education institutes, universities and so forth, practice what they teach the students about the climate crisis? Now, on this, I wanted to touch on 2 issues. And what I'm talking about here, there'll be lots of other things. It's just my immediate thoughts rather than a sort of a comprehensive consideration of all the points. But the first of these is credibility. That when we hear arguments being made by anyone in society, we give greater credibility to what they are saying if we can broadly see that their lifestyles or their institutions have practices that are in line with the arguments that they're making. And there's a whole wealth of psychology evidence that has shown that over many years, that credibility is incredibly important here. So it doesn't change whether the arguments are right or wrong, but it does lend them greater sort of sense of belief. We will take them more on board if we see some alignment between what's being said and what's being done. But I also want to pick apart slightly the question itself. So this idea of when we teach the students, I think it's fair to say when we're talking about climate science, then there's a lot that we have learned as academics and as the scientific community that we know sufficiently well that we can teach the students. But when it comes to reducing our emissions, which is a different thing altogether, I mean, it relies on some science and some technology and so forth, but also it's deeply political and cultural. But when we look at reducing emissions, we have fundamentally failed. So I think that asks different questions of the relationship between the student and the teacher. And many people have tried for 2-3 decades, if not more, to bring our emissions down, but collectively, the empirical data suggests that we have failed and failed very significantly. And therefore, we're looking for new ways to think about these issues. And the insight from students may be just as important as it is from the lecturers. In fact, it may even be more important because you'll be looking at the world through a different set of eyes with new lenses to see what is happening, and you may come up with new avenues to address this issue. The second question I was asked was, why are universities, etc., not practicing what they preach? I'm going to touch on two things here. The first one is that we know that emissions correlate very closely with wealth and status, and the academics typically have done very well in our systems, or at least this, and it's not just the established academics, the senior lecturers and the professors have done well, but the others going into university and working their way through the system also aspiring to do well on both of these fronts, both in terms of wealth and in terms of status. To be brutally obvious, we're part of what is often referred to as the mobile elite. And that means we broadly have high levels of consumption. We typically live in bigger houses. We're paid a lot more. We typically live in larger houses. Sometimes we have second homes. We have bigger cars. We probably drive further. We'll fly a lot further. And we were much less likely to use things like buses and some other forms of public transport. So across the board, we're going to have higher levels of emissions. But with our institutions, we've also locked in a whole suite of high carbon practices that also feed in to this sort of individual high carbon lifestyles that we have as well. Firstly, we've got this idea of teaching where there's been a real significant focus on internationalization. How can we bring people in from other parts of the world? Now, that's significantly driven by the fact is that they usually have to pay a lot more money. But it's more than that. It is the idea that we think that we have these pearls of wisdom that we can bestow on these other people. And sometimes that is true, and other times I think there is a degree of arrogance locked into that. But nevertheless, what we have got is for various reasons, we've got an agenda, a teaching agenda, which requires lots and lots of travel to bring in students from elsewhere. On research, obviously lots of good research is done, but I do think some of the field work is still deeply embedded in the colonial view of the world, a sort of arrogant view of the world, that we in the rich parts of the world will fly to other parts of the world to undertake research there and then bring the information back and then carry on with some academic papers and so forth over here. Why is it we can't readjust that system so actually we sort of engage on a more equal partnership level with people elsewhere rather than us having to travel there? And I'll come back to that in a minute, actually. Then there's also the issue of engagement and prestige, and that we like to be at the top table with the great and the good, discussing how we can incrementally tweak the existing system, rather than actually, pushing at that table, saying actually the sorts of things you're talking about are far removed from what we need to do to deliver on our Paris commitments. But the prestige comes from engaging with these other people who are typically also part of the mobile elite. So the whole sort of structure here is one of high emissions, high income, and high levels of prestige. So how can students impact universities to take more notice of the climate science and reduce their emissions? Well, firstly, I think it's important to recognize that students are the lifeblood of most universities, and that actually gives you a huge amount of power, both financial power, and the universities are reliant on the income either directly paid by the students or given to the universities by government because of their student numbers, but also the ability then of the students collectively to hold their lecturers and their vice chancellor to account for their actions. So there's a lot of power there that I think collectively you can hopefully apply appropriately within the institutions of higher education. But I think there are some key elements to this. Firstly, You need to be cogent. We need to really think through what are the arguments that we have. And not just at the reductionist level, but also at the system level. We need to have integrity, that we don't hide in that whole suite of assertions or other political beliefs, and have the cogency sort of hide these more sort of personal views of how we'd like the world to be. And then we also need the courage to stand up and to be counted, and so to take our arguments and put them out there for people to counter or agree with and to discuss. And there are multiple avenues of engagement for doing this. There's the formal committees that most universities have. There's our local and national papers and local and national radio shows. There's social media and protests and all these other things out there. There's a whole suite of ways of engaging. And students typically are well educated and reasonably eloquent, so there's no reason they shouldn't be out there getting their voices heard. I would also argue that there are a few other sort of characteristics that are important here. Firstly, to have some sort of firmness, to think your arguments through, and then once you've thought them through, stand by them. Unless someone points out that there's something wrong within them. And I'll come back to that in just a moment. But also clarity, make sure that arguments are clear, that people can understand what it is that we're saying. Be courteous, firm but courteous, and it's not always easy to be courteous. And we all found this from time to time, but generally it is better to be courteous. To have some humility, which goes back to the idea of firmness, that we will occasionally get things wrong, or think actually the argument is more subtle than that. There's something I hadn't thought about. And it's important to reflect on that and go back and change our views and be open about that process. But also, I think some humor can help get things across. So it's a combination of these facets that help us get across the importance of our messages.
So as you saw, there was maybe you saw there was a final fourth question there that he was going to answer, but we won't show that today. But you'll be able to find that on our YouTube channel. You can find the full video if you want to hear his full response. Back to you, Isha.
I hope that video was inspiring and everyone feels pumped up for more. So our organization is also actually inspired by some of Kevin Anderson's talk, and I'll now be sharing a bit about what we're doing before we move on to our members sharing. Okay, so essentially, Climate Students Movement is set up with the aim of closing the gap between climate science and climate action. And we were founded a year ago with a membership network of student groups working towards our goal of pressuring higher education institutions to start acting urgently for the climate. Our board is composed of two committees, the member committee, who carries out capacity building worldwide through our member meetings, and the campaign committee, who are building a global advocacy campaign with other student organizations. So to give you a better idea, let me just go into what these two committees are doing. The member committee, who are the organizers of this event today, are focused on gaining more members, as the name implies, and basically working with our members. So our purpose includes expanding our network to gain more members, building external networks to engage more students, planning monthly meetings for the members to interact and also learn from each other, encouraging collaborations between the members, and to also manage useful resources for our members. As of right now, we have members from Colombia, Brazil, UK, Sweden, Finland, Malta, Nigeria, Kenya, and Singapore. Over this year, we've provided quite a few capacity building opportunities for the members. So we started out the year with a digital campaigning workshop where we invited a climate influencer to share her perspective and provided some advice and online tools members could use to develop an online presence. Something especially important, especially because it was during the pandemic period at the time. We also invited representatives from two institutions who've pledged to the SDG Accord, which is for their institutions to be in line with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. These representatives then shared about how their universities decided to sign the accord, and we held discussions about how to reach to universities' administrations and to try to make them listen to our suggestions. After that, we've also held a workshop with how to change the world regarding steps and the most effective ways to try to get curriculum change within our universities to include more climate issues into our education. And we've also held a workshop with the Alliance of Sustainability Leadership in Education about the Race to Zero campaign for the universities to commit to net zero by a certain year. On top of capacity building, we also have a climate students library, which has been expanding to include some useful external resources, as well as some resources created by our own members, such as the survey questions and learning objectives. We've also included a space for members that they can hopefully use to try to work together on ideas and to collaborate together. Of course, you will learn from our members themselves in a while when they're sharing, but they have also been very active in their local regions, carrying out many interesting projects, including biodiversity projects, handbooks to teach students how to be more sustainable, student surveys about climate, talks and events, as well as training and education about climate issues and writing articles about the climate crisis. On a more systemic level, to try to directly impact change in the universities, some members have also worked on compiling student demands to universities, organized to include different fields into sustainability, because sustainability is not just for like the climate scientists. Also created like climate action ranking for universities within their country and encouraged research labs in different universities to work together. A few of our members from 3 countries also actually work together on a pitching event to gather ideas for the universities from students. So it's like a start of a collaboration that we hope to see more of as well. On top of what we're currently doing, in the coming year, the member committee will also be planning to create a handbook for groups, especially for new groups that are starting out or groups that want more ideas. We'll also be sourcing for potential sponsors for our members' activities and as increasing media and awareness of our own and also our members' activities. Before I move on to the campaign committee, let me just discuss how you can be a member. So to be a member, actually, the only requirement is to be a student group that is in line with our statutes. In other words, essentially working on related issues and to operate without discrimination and like any nasty stuff. There is no fee essentially, and our member group just have to appoint 2 representatives and engage actively with the meetings. Do note that you can be a member organization of any size. So we have fairly newly established groups like Uniclima and Green Sparks, as well as like national networks such as Climate Students Sweden, which is much bigger. So you're more than welcome to find a few friends you think might be interested and start your own group if you feel inspired by this event and want to join. We more than welcome you. I'm sure I've already covered a lot of the benefits of joining the movement, but in essence, you'll gain access to our capacity building and international network whom you can learn from and collaborate with, be part of a global movement to solve problems together, gain more recognition and reach a wider audience to the network. Yeah, so that's kind of like the different like benefits if you're interested. We'll be sharing a link at the end of the conference, or you can kind of find the link to join in the website as well. So now I'll move on to share about the campaign committee, which has been focused on building a student-led advocacy campaign by the name of Act on Your Climate Science. So the purpose of the campaign is to engage students to build momentum and push thousands of universities and colleges to sign our framework, which requires them to set goals, create action plans, and declare a climate emergency. The campaign goal for COP27, which is next year, includes having 1,000 highs signed to the campaign, to try to launch the campaign nationally in at least 30 countries, to advocate for science-based targets internationally for other campaigns and goals on top of our own one, to release an international student-led climate ranking of universities, and to try to release an international student action paper with suggestions for universities. To kind of carry out these highly ambitious campaign, we're working with other student organizations to form a coalition to lead the campaign. So this coalition consists of students organizing for sustainability, Global Student Forum, and their regional federations, including OCLAY from Latin America, ESU and OBESU from Europe, the Commonwealth Student Association, and the All Africa Student Union. We're also working to include more climate and environmental students or youth organizations in the coalition and hopefully get more students on board. The main strategy of the campaign essentially centers around recruiting national campaign coordinators or NCCs who get training and support to run the campaign nationally. This then pushes institutions to start taking action and hopefully also inspire the same change at us in society at large. If you're interested, you can kind of find out more about this at our pre-launch event for the Act on Your Climate Science campaign, which is happening next Saturday at the same time as today's event. So do keep a lookout for it, especially if you're interested in joining or working with the campaign, as we'll be reopening recruitment for NCCs next week. And we'll be also releasing information about how you can join as one of the 4 campaign teams soon. the link to the event is also included at the end of the conference and can be found on our website if you're looking for it. Thank you for hearing me kind of like chatter a bit about the our movement, and I hope we've piqued your interest and you're excited to hear more about our members' fascinating experiences. If you have any questions, feel free to raise them in the chat or maybe by unmuting yourself. Okay, so maybe if you don't have any questions now, we can leave this for the end, and maybe some of you might have questions after. Let's move on to the sharings from our members now, and maybe Adam can take over to share a bit more about that.
Yes, thank you very much. So this conference, the focus is all about giving our members the space to talk about what they're doing, because of course, the movement is nothing more than the sum of our members. So we want to give those of you who are here who are already members, want to give you a chance to learn more about what's happening in the movement, and for those of you who are here who are not members, to give you an idea of what you can do as a part of this movement, and maybe give you some inspiration and ideas for what you could do at your higher education institution. So we're going to start out with our Finnish member, Complex Rai, who's going to be represented by Robert and maybe someone else. I don't remember. Either way, I will leave it to Robert in a minute. If you have any questions about the project that they'll be talking about, feel free to write it in the chat, and I'll pick it up after their presentation is over, and we'll have a few minutes of Q&A after the presentation is over. You will of course also have the possibility to ask the question yourself during the Q&A, but if you write it in the chat, I'll make sure to pick it up once Complex are ready presenting. So please, Robert, I'll pass it over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Adam. So let me go ahead and open the screen. Yes, so here we go. So my name is Robert Stewart, and I'm the Sustainability Coordinator of Complex RU. And so we're part of the Leadership for Change program of Tampere University, Finland. And today I'm going to talk to you about Sustainability Month, a cultural approach to awareness, engagement, and impact. So before I get into it, I just want to remind you about our current situation. So we first ran our Sustainability Month back in April, and it's been 6 months since then. And since that 6 months, the tons of waste dumped globally, plastic dumped in the ocean, and CO2 emissions, they've tripled. And also the cost for not acting on climate change has added another $258 billion. So we're kind of approaching a point of no return. We have less than 10 critical years to avoid irreversible consequences. And we're facing an uphill battle against current and projected consumption trends. We can't wait for technology that does not yet exist, or business or politics to lead the way. And there's also been far too much emphasis on the economic and environmental connection. So according to the conclusions from the Cost Action IS 1007, Investing Cultural Sustainability, many, if not all, of the planet's environmental problems, and certainly all of its social and economic problems, have cultural activities and decisions, people and human actions at their roots. So therefore, a cultural approach to sustainability could provide a more holistic solution. So Sustainability Month. For one day in April, on Earth Day, the world reflects on the most fundamental relationship we have. Yet despite this, we rapidly are losing it to our unsustainable practices. If one day is all that we can spare, how do we expect to reach the Sustainable Development Goals or the Paris Agreement on time? So Sustainability Month is the idea that one day is not enough. And to change our ways, we also need to emphasize elements that make up a sustainable culture, such as the values, symbols, artifacts, knowledge, stories, practices, and traditions. So I'm going to talk to you about this cultural approach, and it's underlined by these cultural elements. So for our Sustainability Month and also future Sustainability Months, one of the cultural elements of this is tradition. And so Sustainability Month acts as an annual occasion concerning a month-long action with related events. And the cultural impact of this is the excitement that we generate, the engagement, the activities, the planning, and also the reflections and memories that people build. Next, values as a cultural element in Sustainability Month. It underlines the themes and values of the activities, the events, the conversations, and its symbols. And so what this does is it invites the sharing of sustainability values and empowering actions. So for beliefs and stories, for Sustainability Month, we can develop science-based dialogues, perspective-changing events, and also we can explore diverse viewpoints. So what this can lead to is factual-based perspectives, awareness of diverse viewpoints, and also an opportunity to see things new. So symbols and artifacts are another important way to have a cultural element. And so the co-creation of powerful logos, symbols, memes, and other cultural assets, they can hold legacy potential. And so the impact of this can be that the community recognizes it and it becomes a legitimate cause. And then there's also the accumulation of these cultural capitals as resources that people can keep using and their long-tailed reuse potential. And then practices and norms are very important for sustainability. So for example, in Sustainability Month, activities that foster sustainable engagement on our impacts, such as our lifestyle and consumption behavior. And so for this, the practicing of a decreased impact lifestyle and consumption behaviors, these can also cross over into other life choices and habits. So for here, I'm going to talk for a bit about our Sustainability Month and our experiences. And then also there's some ideas for the next years. So what we did was we created a logo. And so this served as a symbolic artifact of our values. And what this can do is promote a shared experience. And it also legitimizes the occasion. So it unified the month-long experience. It was used for different events, for the communications, and it became recognized by our community. And these symbols can also have this kind of like legacy potential, like we can reuse it next year, for example. So one of the things that we would like to do for 2022 is have wider community utilization and recognition of our Sustainability Month symbols. All right, so this is another example, and we created this event called the Sustainability Meme Festival, and it was, we wanted to bridge the gap between popular culture and sustainability discourse. And so memes were shared throughout the month. And memes are a fun and easy way to convey information. And they served as cultural capital, which means that they are a resource with cultural value. So this event was an example of an inclusive way to engage a diversity of people about their views, foster community interaction, spark relevant discussions in novel ways, and also to produce long-tailed content potential. So to give you an idea of this cultural capital idea I've been mentioning is, it's kind of like a currency and it can flow throughout society and serve different cultural purposes. So in the case of this meme, it's for their entertainment or thought-provoking value, and also its alignment with the creators, engagers, and the sharers of these values. So another element that these kind of approach incorporated was the beliefs and stories. So memes can help tap into underlying beliefs about sustainability, such as people's hopes and anxieties. And that can be a time to challenge assumptions or reflect. So it's a great way to start conversations with people about sustainability. And despite their simplicity, they can actually be quite deep. They can be the cornerstones of needed dialogue. These symbolic artifacts hold much potential for fostering culture of sustainability and bridging these comprehension gaps. So yeah, there can be some examples. You can have events with these memes and dialogues. For example, what do you think about this meme? What does it say to you? Do you think it's exaggerated? Why do you think that? What does the cup of coffee represent, for example? So there's many different aspects of memes that make it a useful tool to facilitate conversation about these sustainability challenges. And they're quite simple and easy to make for most anyone. So let's see. The next thing that we worked on was guest experts. So for Sustainability Month, you could have different guest experts. You could have different themes for each week of the month. And so what we did was we had a guest expert come to our group, and they presented about different housing. So housing is very central to like lifestyle, and we heard about these different types of housing and humanitarian relief and these such things. And so this was a really great event. You can find a broad range of guest experts to come to your Sustainability Month events. They don't have to be from across the world. They can just be your local experts. So here I'll talk a bit about social media activity. So throughout the month, we made thematic posts concerning sustainability topics on our social media pages for our association. And so we used hashtags as a way to unify with larger movements such as hashtag Earth Day or hashtag sustainability. People can look up these hashtags and they can find your content and kind of get the idea about this movement. So new hashtags can be a way to accumulate new movements such as hashtag Sustainability Month. So we'll have the hashtag Sustainability Month from last year, and then we'll be adding to it next year. And so this accumulation of digital content can serve as inspiration for wider and long-tailed social awareness, engagement, or impact. So I'll talk here briefly. This is kind of an idea you can use at a Sustainability Month is we need to make sustainability engagement more fun. So for this approach, we did gamification. And what we did, because it was the Corona pandemic, we created an online escape room. So an escape room is traditionally like in a physical place and you're trying to solve the puzzle, find the clues, and find your way to escape the room. So in this case, we created a sustainability themed escape room. And what this does is it makes these issues into a more fun experience. And it could also help counter the compassion fatigue that those in the field often know. And it's a great way for team building and also community building. And so education and gaming, these hold a lot of potential for Sustainability Month. So I'll be getting towards the end here soon, but before I do, just want to make the important point about diverse viewpoints. And so we held a cultural event at the end of our Sustainability Month. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to kind of gain people's different viewpoints on sustainability. What does it mean to you? How is it in your country? And so this kind of helped us bridge gaps between different cultures and kind of challenge our own assumptions. So it was a really great way to incorporate the diversity of our group. And finding different perspectives is always essential for new solutions. So Sustainability 2022, it needs like a guiding force or a steering team. These are kind of the lessons that we learned. It was just our complex student association, and now we're thinking to expand it more university wide. So we'd like to create like a steering group, and then an easy way to kind of integrate this into a broader movement at the university is just kind of rebranding the different sustainability events that are already occurring. And also to make it more organized, we could theme each week of the month, keep it focused, and try to incorporate more associations and local resources, for example, like local businesses. Creating a sustainability calendar would be good to keep it more organized. And also having like proper communication channels when you're making it such a wider kind of project. It's important that you have the different channels and people know where to communicate. And since there's so many ideas that could go into this, just creating like a portfolio of concepts helps. So you might not take every idea on each year, but at least you have it there. And then later on, someone might decide they want to take it on. So it looks like I'll be finishing up here now, but I'll leave you with these kind of final words about it. So Sustainability Month, it's a time to foster solidarity, encourage university and community-wide collaboration, develop new perspectives, include a diversity of voices, honor community efforts and achievements. Imagine the future. We often forget the beautiful, wonderful future that we could have. And we need to see that more. Challenge assumptions. And we need to have more fun doing sustainability and thinking about it and getting the community engaged, and also change ourselves through the process. So that's it for me about Sustainability Month. I hope that you found this inspiring.
Thank you, Robert. What a great idea and very thoroughly thought through. We had a thought that was expressed in the chat about how it would be interesting to make a Spanish and Portuguese version about the Sustainability Month to kind of launch it in Latin America. What do you think about that, Robert? How could we make that happen?
Yeah, I think we could really kind of build like a minimum standard that we could have different associations sign, like, hey, we're pledging ourselves to do a Sustainability Month. That way people can see all the people behind it. And then I think also having more people involved, and especially in their own languages, because it's not all English. This could be really a good way to get different cultures, different languages into it. And I think also the students and the university, we can reach out to the broader community. Like we can invite libraries and museums, for example, to have their own Sustainability Month. Just for the month, put up sustainability books for the public to see, or museums that can put out artifacts, have a little talk. So whoever thinks this idea is interesting, I think now is the time to start thinking about it next year. It doesn't have to be so many events. I think what's important at the start is that you kind of build this symbolic representation, such as the logo. You just keep on putting it in your communication. So people keep on thinking, okay, you know what, sustainability is important. It's been this whole month, and we keep on saying that, hey, look at this. This symbol reminds us. And then, later on, we look back to the memories we built during Sustainability Month, and they inspire us.
That's great. That's great. I don't see any other questions in the chat right now, so I'm gonna pick up a question that I had. If anyone else has anything they want to ask Robert, either put it in chat, or you can raise your hand either digitally or physically, and I will see it. But while you think about that, I'll ask you, Robert. How was the reception? How were the reactions that you got for the Sustainability Month, both from faculty but also from the student body?
Yeah, so I started as the sustainability coordinator for Complex Aru this year. And so I was just kind of thinking about what ideas I can do to get more students engaged about sustainability. And I had this idea at the beginning of the year, and I ran it by the university's sustainable development team. And they're actually feeling like, because this was by the end of February, they're feeling like we don't have enough time to plan this. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, I can't let this stop me right now. And we can kind of just start building our own grassroots movement. I can test run the concept. I can see what kind of like challenges, difficulties that we might confront. And so this way we have something to build upon. And just last week now, I've gone full circle. I brought the idea back to the university sustainable development team. There's more student associations showing interest in making this kind of more broad in the university. So I think it's really important that you don't let you know, a little skepticism of the idea, or maybe people don't think there's enough time, because it's important to try to do something to test run these things. And you don't have to make it perfect, because it creates like a case, and you can kind of look back at the case and say, okay, well, this did happen. How could we improve it? So yeah, just doing kind of like a grassroots thing in our program. And we made a lot of interconnections within the university with different associations and departments. We really got to push more interdisciplinary, not just for like the hard sciences either, but there's a lot of potential that these like humanities can do. For example, I mentioned we need to see a vision of the future in movies, media content, this kind of pop culture. We're seeing so often like some kind of dystopian, the world's going to end scenario. We also need to inspire people, like what kind of beautiful world can we create, you know? And this can be done through art, even like digital art. Yeah, so there's a lot of possibilities for everyone to get involved in Sustainability Month.
Amazing, fantastic. Is there anyone else who has anything they want to say or want to ask to
I have a question.
this group? Please, Anna, go ahead.
Thank you, Robert. It's amazing what you have already done. I've been wondering about how do you, if you have a plan on how to bring people from different courses to engage in this initiative. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think try to work on people's strengths to start off with. So different disciplines, they might have an expertise in a certain area. And so the kind of idea of like theming the month, different weeks can have a theme for sustainability related concepts. And so this gives them kind of like a platform. Okay, we can do something on our theme where, for example, environmental science. So we can talk about like climate, we can talk about the temperature, the emissions. They can have like a guest speaker. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing, which would be even more interesting, is to create like these multidisciplinary discussion panels with several experts from different fields. And you can have audience discussion too. And I think this starts to help build and bridge the gap between different disciplines and also the public. So yeah, having them kind of sitting together or online connecting. And they don't necessarily have to agree on what approach to take for sustainability or how to see it, but kind of just getting those thoughts out there, it helps start to imagine new things. So definitely expert panels could be another way. You can have different kinds of events. I mentioned about the humanities. So you can ask them, hey, will you do something on art for this during the month? You can do it for the environmental science, different disciplines, business. You can say, hey, can you do something for the month? Maybe just brainstorming is a good way to get these ideas out there too.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we need to move on, but I want to mention as well that we will have a little bit more open member meeting next month, where all of you are welcome to come if you want to discuss more about these projects that have been presented and want to learn more, basically. So if you have more questions, you stick around to the end of this conference and you'll know where you can ask them next time. So the next group we're going to have presenting is climate students in Kenya. I think we have 1 or 2 people here who is supposed to be presenting from Kenya. So I will leave the floor to you. Please, Climate Students Kenya, go ahead. I don't know, you might be, we can't hear you, Patricia, if you're trying to talk to us. Might be that you are. It's still not working. It might be that your Zoom has the wrong microphone settings. We maybe while you work on that, we could switch around the order a little bit. So then maybe Climate Students Sweden could do this slot instead before the break, and then we can work on your technical issues in the break, Patricia.
Yeah, that would be fine. So should I do the screen sharing? Maybe. Okay, my name is Alexander, and I'm from the Swedish National Board of the Klimatstudenterna Sverige, and I'm here today with some of my other board members from the Swedish group. And we will be talking briefly on one of our reoccurring and one of our biggest projects that we do in the board, which is called the Climate Action Ranking. And what this is it's basically a ranking of the climate work from Swedish universities and other higher education institutions. So we try to gather as much information as possible and rank how well they're doing when it comes to different aspects of their environmental work. So here's the graphics from our ranking that we did this year. It's all the figures and everything that we are looking at are from the year of 2020 in this one, but we released it now in 2021 during the spring. And as you can see, the total score that any university could get was 100 points. And in the top, we had 2 institutions. One called Chalmers. It's a technical university. They have mostly engineering educations. And then there's a philosophical and theological higher education institution called Newman Institutet. They both received 89 points in this last ranking, which is a pretty good figure. But before we get too much into the results and all of that, why are we doing the ranking? Well, the main goal and main reason why we do the ranking is because we believe that the work is going too slow when it comes to the mitigation and climate work from the universities. And so the ranking is done in a way as a tool to kind of push and put pressure on the universities and the decision makers and ones with the power of deciding how much they do. And we also, by doing that, want to create a sense of competition among the different universities, because a lot of universities put a lot of focus on prestige and values that are about being a very good university. And we believe that the climate work should also be a part of that calculation, of that that sense of like being a progressive or a very good university. But we also do it to monitor and measure the climate work and to get a good sense of how much different universities are doing, which we in turn can use in our local groups, because we aim to have like a very good communication with the different universities where we have groups, and we give them some tools to be able to approach and talk to the universities about their climate work. As I said in the beginning, it's one of many ways to tackle the issue of mitigation from universities, and it's a very, we believe, effective way if we get the right like medial spread of the ranking. So we've done the ranking now for 2 years, and right now we are in the process of beginning the third ranking for the year of 2021, which will then be released next year during the spring. So the ranking is based partly on a survey that we send out to the environmental coordinators of the different universities and higher education institutions. The survey covers their measurements of emissions and their targets and goals for reducing their emissions. And we also base this on data of their emissions from business travels by air per annual employee from 2019 and 2020. And we are very fortunate to be able to gather these figures, because it's one of the things that the universities need to actually report to the Environmental Protection Agency in Sweden. So they have the raw data on how big the emissions are from their business travels by air. So we can also use that figure, and then we can both account for how big their emissions are, and also how big their emission reductions are from business travels by air. So those are two other categories. So here we have them. The first one, as I said, was the emission per employee per year from business travels by air, and emission reduction per annual employee from business travels by air between the ranking year and the previous one. And then the two categories that are covered by the survey are the number 3 and 4, how much they measured the university's total greenhouse gas emissions, and the climate goals and action plans. So the part 1 of the form, or the survey, is the measurement of the emissions. And here we are basically asking them in what degree they are measuring the emissions from a bunch of different sectors or parts of the university's work, or all of the things they do. And the main focus here is on like energy, heating, transportation and travel, but also other stuff like food consumption or investments to a certain degree. So we try to really cover as much as possible. And here we are basically saying that we value higher if the universities are measuring and actually keeping track on how big their emissions are. Because if they do, then they can actually take appropriate measures to do something with that. And we've gathered the kind of idea to measure this from this NTNU, or NTNU, which is a Norwegian, I don't know exactly what they are, but they've done like this kind of division in how you can see the climate footprint. So here we got in kind of the base ideas for the factors or the sectors of the university activity that we are looking at. And then the second part of the form, I'm just gonna have to move around stuff on my screen a little bit so I can see what you're seeing. There we are looking at the goals goals and action plans for different areas of their emissions. So we ask, like, do you have emission goals or an action plan for example, travels? And they get to answer if they do or not. And then we've also been looking at how they formulate the goal, how many people are, if they have like someone who's actually hired to work with these goals, if they have an action plan, and if they do continuous follow-up. And here we are really looking for universities that have a clear idea of where they want to be with their emissions and what they want to, like how they're going to get there. So if you have a good goals and a plan to get there, that will give you a higher point. This part has been a little bit problematic in the past years when trying to evaluate the quality of the goals and set fair points, because the way the survey has been shaped before has really opened up for a lot of half-truths and maybe not the most honest answers. And we've also kind of, we haven't had a very clear idea when doing the evaluation of how much a certain goal should be worth in points in the survey or in the ranking. So for this year, we're going to look over how we are measuring the goals and emissions, but we still stand true that we think that it's a very important part to measure. Before we go into the questions, I just want to add also that the first year, but especially this year's ranking, we've been really trying to push on the medial spread to get it to really get out to a lot of people. We want it to be seen by many, and that's partly because it's important, and we want it to be we want it to be a natural thing that people think about when they consider choosing a university, or when you talk about the university. It shouldn't only be focused on the academic merits. It should also be, but hey, they are doing a very good work with their emissions. They are actually taking a lead. And to kind of capitalize as much as possible on this, we have released the rankings on the same days that applications open for the fall semester, which is in Sweden is on the 15th of April. And this year we actually got a pretty good environmental coverage, both from smaller smaller newspapers, but also in some of the bigger ones which are reporting on sustainability news in Sweden, and that has been very fun. Yeah, I think that's the brief coverage of it. I'm sure some of you have some questions, and feel free to ask them, especially if maybe you have questions on how you could implement this in your country or in your own groups. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Alexander. I want to give a potential room for questions. I'm going to note that we've reached the time for our break. So I also want to, since we got a little bit delayed, I want to acknowledge that the break will start now. You can take 10 minutes break, but if you want to stick around to ask a question to the climate students in Sweden, we can take some time from the break to do that. But if you don't have a question, feel free to stretch your legs, grab some water, grab something to eat, and we'll be back here in 10 minutes to keep going with the presentation. Thank you very much for joining us. Also, we could use this space, Patricia, if you want to try to get your sound working, feel free to do that now during the break as well, so that we can hopefully get that working. by by when the break is over.
Hi.
Ah, there we go.
Oh, so you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Can I try to share my screen? Okay. Let's see.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think you
can
can't do that while Victor is sharing. But we can try that. We can try that by
Okay,
near
can
the
you
end of
change
the
it?
break. Yeah, you can't share right now
Okay.
because Victor is sharing, but we can do that later. It's good enough that we can hear you. Can you turn on your camera as well? Is that possible?
Oh, it's not working. I'm very sorry about that.
Okay.
It's not working.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. The most important
Okay.
part is that we can hear you. Great.
Okay.
So then we'll do Climate Studios Kenya right after the break, and then we'll keep going as planned. All right, Patricia, you can try sharing your screen now. Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you had a nice break. I believe most people should be back by now, but we'll get started. So next group who will be presenting is
So
Climate Students
can you see
Kenya.
it?
No, we cannot see your screen yet. So
Yeah. Okay.
If you send your presentation to one of us, then we can be sharing it instead. And then you can just let us know when to switch page. So please, if you're in our say WhatsApp group, you can send it there, for instance. Would that help?
I also dropped our email in the chat if you want to send it to our email.
Yeah, sorry.
Do you want to maybe send us the slides to our email so then we can set it up? Oh, it's working now.
yeah, just give it a few seconds. There we go. Right, now I can see your screen.
Okay, so you can see it.
Yes, yes. So you can start
Oh,
start
okay.
presenting when you're ready.
Okay, so okay. So my name is Patricia. I'm from Kenya, student at the University of Nairobi, and here in Kenya we have a climate action plan project, and our goal is to achieve a 25 tree cover within the country, to incorporate climate actions within young generations in the country, to ensure collective responsibility in curbing climate change effects, and to integrate climate mitigation measures into the country policies. The objective of our project is to give an overview on climate change and climate action, to define climate within the country and evidences that the climate is changing, to investigate land use in different counties and tree cover areas in the country, to evaluate different tree species, their survival rates and adaptation in different parts of the country, to determine various carbon negative projects to be adopted among younger generations, and to identify involvement of different sectors in the implementation process. This because we find that we can't deal with the issue of climate change alone. We need help from other stakeholders and maybe partners. So our expected outcomes are to use of creative ways to reuse waste in the schools. So we are focusing mainly in schools and both primary, secondary, and tertiary institutions. We also expect to plant trees on bare lands within the schools in the country. This because we found that many schools in our country, they have bare land which they don't use, so we plan on using that land by planting trees. Installation of waste dustbins in the compound. Many schools here in Kenya, especially the government schools, they don't have waste dustbins, so we plan on giving them waste dustbins. Establishment of nurseries within the schools, both trees and fruits. This because we've seen that having nurseries will help us to grow more trees, and it is cheaper than when we go and purchase the trees themselves. Communal cleanups within the schools region. We plan on engaging the students to clean up in their hometowns, and as well as also teaching them the importance of doing that. Use of non-renewable sources of energy within the institutions. This is mainly because here, many schools and institutions, they use firewood, which is not environmental friendly, and hence we plan on introducing the non-renewable sources of energy like solar in the institutions, which will be cheaper and it will be good for even our health. Next, engagement of the 4K clubs in climate change mitigations. The 4K clubs have been there in Kenya, but they had died, but now the president revived them back. And so we're also trying to bring them back and engage the students, and also tell the teachers, staff, the importance of having these clubs in schools. The overview of the plan. The main aim of the plan is to ensure we have absorbed the carbon dioxide that is in the atmosphere to create various carbon stocks within the country. Our main target audience for the project will be the younger generation within our institutions. This because the younger generations, they are not really engaged with matters climate change. We feel that like they think it's not that serious, but we need to involve them and show them that it is indeed very serious. On the issue of the establishment of nurseries within the schools, the plan is to teach, like I've said, to teach the students how to establish and manage a tree nursery. This is mainly because of the difficulty of procuring tree seeds, and they are raising costs, makes it necessary to find means to increase seedling survival and growth. We also saw that when we start a nursery, it will give the students a sense of responsibility, because we are going to like tell them to go and find the seeds, and then now from there we can we can grow them. This will also show them that how the trees come to be, and I think should be a very interesting learning process for them, especially the younger kids. So why fruit trees? So like we've said, we're going to have the exotic trees and also the fruit trees. And the trees, this because they're fruit trees, it's because trees and forests play an essential role in mitigating the impact of climate change. Planting trees, and to be specific, planting fruit trees is one of the most important things we can do to contribute to the health of the planet. At a time when learners are increasingly disconnected from nature, the seasons, and the process of food production, a school orchard offers a great way to re-engage them with the natural world. So this would give them a sense of even connecting with Mother Nature. So what a better way to help learners understand the range of issues around food production than getting them to grow their own. A school orchard will help them explore plant growth and care, global trade, food and nutrition security, environmental conservation, as well as carbon footprint. Next is the fruit trees in all our schools countrywide will not only make our schools green and attractive, but will also be a source of nutrition to our learners, a habitat for animals, and a source of income, as the excess fruits will be sold to both the local and international markets. So you'll find that mostly in schools, like I said before, in public schools, they don't really have, they're not given fruits in schools. So it's either you get them from home, but in school they are not given. So you've introduced the plan of having these fruit trees in the schools. It will motivate the students to be more active in growing the trees, and because now they'll see the benefits of growing the trees. So this initiative is designed to contribute to the ongoing government's 10% forest cover policy, as well as the SDGs number 1, 2, 4, 13, and 15, aimed at combating climate change, poverty, hunger, and the promotion of food and nutrition security, as well as environmental conservation and protection. So in order for this project to work, we are deciding to have it in it should be a 2-year plan, and in the 2-year plan we have divided it into 4 quarters, whereby in the year 1, the first quarter will start from September 2021 to November 2021, and the activities that will be involved include like reviewing of climatic conditions in the country, identification of institutions where the tree planting event will take place, establishment of environmental clubs within the institutions, such as the 4K clubs and other environmental clubs that will have a with. So we'll also have field visits the various institutions so as to have correct data on the number as well as the type of trees to be planted. The responsibility will fall onto the climate student movement here in Kenya, and we estimate our cost to be around 300,000 Kenyan shillings. So in our next quarter, which will start from November 2021 to Feb 2022, the activities that we plan on having are establishment of tree and fruit nurseries in the identified institutions, acquisition of materials and land acquisitions and preparations. So we have to go there and make sure that the schools are willing to give us the land for us to plant the trees. The person responsible, again, it's Climate Student Movement here in Kenya, and we estimated the cost to be around 500k Kenyan shillings. That is in quarter 3, which will begin from Feb 2022 to April 2022. The activities will be growing of the seedlings now, maintenance and monitoring of the nurseries. The activities here will be like watering, weeding, and putting fertilizers. So we have to know where we get the water from, the weeding, we have to get the materials for weeding. Here we use pangas or fork jembes, and even now putting the fertilizers, we have to know where we can purchase them. Again, Climate Student Movement will be responsible for that, and the estimated cost we found to be around 800,000 Kenyan shillings. So again, as a project, it is just on the verge of finding the funds and all that. In quarter 4, which will begin in April 2022 to September 2022, the activities would be to conduct environmental education in the various schools that have been identified in the country. So once we've identified the institutions and the schools, we'll have to give the students a talk on the matters to do with environment, and tell them why it is very important for us to come and plant trees and why they should be involved in planting the trees. Again, Climate Student Movement and the various stakeholders such as the county governments. We have various counties, so we were planning on using the county governments, the Kenya Forest Service, the Kenya Wildlife Services, and the Ministry of Education, as well as NEMA, which stands for the National Environmental Management Authority. They'll come into place to help us with this project. Again, the cost is estimated to be around 500,000 Kenyan shillings. In year 1, so in our year 2, again, divided into 4 quarters. We have the first quarter, which is September 2022 to December 2022. Activities involved will be acquiring of planting tools. Like I said, you use spade, fork jembes, pangas, and reflector jackets or t-shirts. Transportation of the seedlings across the country. So we have to move them from point A to point B, though we're planning on establishing them in the schools themselves, but again, have to move the seed from one part of the country to the other. Tree planting now across the country. Okay, we'll need drinking water and lunch for the volunteers, because we are going to involve volunteers in doing this project. Again, CSM Kenya will be responsible for that, together with the stakeholders and partners. Estimated it will be 950,000 Kenyan shillings. in quarter two, which now starts from Jan 2023 to April 2023, the activities will be creation of botanic garden within the identified institutions. Again, environmental education on the importance of having a botanical garden. And the importance includes helping in scientific research, conservation of plants, as well as making the world's plant species diversity known to the public. This also plays a central role in meeting human needs and providing well-being. So the botanic gardens, they'll be very helpful because now, like here in Kenya, most of the old species of trees, the indigenous ones, they have been cut down. We don't have them anymore. So by having this, you can plant maybe one or two, and then the surviving ones, then you can name them, and then now people, not only now the students, but now everyone, the public can come in and they'll see the various types of trees. CSM Kenya and the various stakeholders and partners are responsible for that, and the cost is around 100K. And then May 2023 to July 2023, the activities will be involved maybe tree avenue planting in different institutions within the country, as well as along the Kenyan roads. These will be mainly for beautification and for environmental conservation. Yes, we need this in our roads. Environmental education on having avenue tree planting will also be given to the general public and everyone everyone who will listen. The again, Climate Student Movement Kenya and the stakeholders will be responsible for that. The cost is estimated to be around 500,000 Kenyan shillings. And then finally, the last quarter, we have maintenance and monitoring of trees planted, as well as the botanic gardens and avenue trees. So after now planting the trees, and now they are growing, we need now to go back and check whether they're still surviving, whether if some do not make it, we need to replace them with other trees. And again, CSM movement here in Kenya will be responsible for that, and the cost is around 800K. So apart from that, we plan also on introducing CSM in various institutions here in Kenya, because we found that not many people are aware of Climate Student Movement. And we plan on introducing them so that they can also be the volunteers that we need. In terms of partnership, we've been lucky to have SDSM Kenya. They're also having the same project, I would say. Yeah, so we plan on working with them. Yes, and so that's what we're Kenya project. That's what's meaning about. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Patricia. What a great and ambitious project you've been showing us. And we don't have time for questions now, but we'll be happy to hear more and discuss more about that in our meeting in November. So thank you very much. So let's quickly move along to the next group to present. The next one in the order is Udiclima from Brazil. So Anna, please feel free to take the floor.
Hello, everyone. I'm sharing my screen really quickly here. I'm Anna, I'm from Brazil, and here with me is another Anna, also from Uniclima. And well, let us start.
Hi guys, good morning for everyone. My name is also Anna, and I'm a member of Uniclima. I study at PUC Minas, Belo Horizonte, Brazil, and here we go. You can pass this, Ariana. Okay, so here we have our summary. That is all the things we're gonna talk about. And first of all, we're gonna say what we have already achieved and where are we at, strategy, source of inspiration, plans for the future, and the lessons that we have learned. You can pass. Okay, what we have achieved. First of all, we have our branding with a designer that gives like credibility and identity to our organization. We also have a partnership with the local TEDx, and we participate a couple months ago in the climate hackathon. And also we have a partnership with the Climate Science, that is another climate organization. We have support within the university in the green, that it's a energy project, and also the Miniono, that it's United Nations simulations for the students, from the students, like the high school students. And we also, and the Uniclima started with 3 members, and now we're turning to 30 members, so we grow really big. And where are we at? We also have some kind of communication with some other courses like geography, engineer, biology, psychology, architecture, and religion students. Religion studies, and our university is a Catholic university, so it's also important to have that. We have a working group of the Sustainable University, that is also another extension project in the university. We have our Instagram to like democratize climate education, and also we have finished already our climate committee letter to the university.
So guys, for our climate commitment letter and our overall strategy, we use as argumentation the encyclical called Laudato Si, made by Pope Francis, which argues about ecology and how we have to take care of our common home. So that was argumentation strategy we use in the climate commitment letter. And we also use local climate change data to show how climate change will impact the staff, the students and campuses, so people, get closer to the climate reality. In addition, we expanded our vision because we realized that curriculum adaptation is a way to ensure that a long-term impact, to ensure that will change the mindset of students and not only the university structure. So we want to make sure that students will take the sustainability mindsets for their future employment. In addition, we noticed some university gaps. So we realized that there is a lot of lack of information, or groups that are working with sustainability, but they are isolated in their own courses, so that there's not a lot of community and communication within the university initiatives. Also, we realized that climate change is an intersectional problem, and thinking about that, we started connecting with collectives in our university. For instance, feminism collectives and anti-racism, gender equality, and etc. So we know that climate change is going to make things so much worse for so many groups, especially. So we want to work together for this common cause. And our sources of inspiration, of course, How to Change the World workshop that Isha mentioned. It really helped us to think about the curricular adaptation methodology. So I deeply recommend you if you watch it. I think it is uploaded on the Climate Students Library, and it's amazing. It's completely practical. It gives you direct instructions of how to make curricular adaptation happen. Also, SOS, the Students Organizing for Sustainability, provided us a lot of data regarding climate action and demands from students. So they have really good argumentation there, data that are important and relevant for your argumentation. In addition, Green Office is also a great course that is free and you can get online. It gives you some directions, how to structure your local group, how to start your local group. And the climate students movement, of course, Uniclima, it's important to say, we started 1 year ago at the same conference you are at right now. and I was alone. And then I came together with 2 friends, and then now we are 30 uniclimbers, as we say. So that's important to mention, that we need to start small, but it's amazing where you can get. And also the Race to Zero and world rankings, as other groups have mentioned, they are really relevant because universities care about their public image, and those initiatives mobilizes climate action. Plans for the future. So we plan to develop a sustainability observatory to monitor sustainability within the university, and we will partner with another initiative from the biology course, which is the Sustainable University. Also, we discovered that the city hall from our city has a Millennium Observatory. So we are trying to get their SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, to use at our Sustainability Observatory, to copy their methodology. Also, we want in the future to impact the local community, planting trees and giving climate education lessons for schools, local schools. And we want to expand Uniclima within Brazil, mobilizing action in other universities. So lessons we have learned, this is the last slide, but lessons we have learned. Think big. At the beginning, we heard a lot of no's and a lot of people trying to dismotivate us, and we didn't hear them. We completely ignored them, and we succeeded. So someone will hear you guys eventually. Don't give up. Also focus on the ones that are interested in what you're doing. We had the coordinator of our course at first. She was completely interested, at helping Uniclima, but she disappeared. She totally forgot about us. And now we are making partnership with another course because they really cared about us and were interested in us. So focus on the one that are interested in your initiative. Always have a plan B, C, D, because sometimes your first strategy is not going to work. Be proud and be your organization's advocate, because you are doing an amazing thing, and don't let people put you down. And always dig everything. I think our networking group, we are called the spies, because we are always digging information online to looking for emails and contacting important people in the university. So we have to really dig sometimes to get those connections and find out new possibilities. And that was it. Thank you, guys. If you have any questions, we are here, and thank you for listening.
Excellent. We just got a question in the chat, actually from someone who is also from Brazil. So there's a lot of text there. I'll leave you to read it. But the question is, what do you suggest to motivate students? Is the key question, which I know is a question you've been struggling with a lot. So let us know what you found out.
That's amazing. I'm super excited to get in touch with you.
So who wants to answer? What do you suggest to motivate students?
Do you want to answer, Anna?
I don't know. I think you have to pass the message of your organization, and you have to have a goal to achieve. And I think that is what motivates us in Uniclima. But I don't know. You can complete, Anna.
I think people, at least here in Brazil, extracurricular activities are really relevant. So you need to have, as Anna said, you need to have a clear goal of where are you going, because if your organization is a mess, people will get discouraged to be a part of it. So you need to always divide functions and tasks for each people, delegate and give people autonomy to develop their activities. And I joined Uniclima only this year, and you have to show the person the benefits of being in your organization. So for example, having access to resources as the Climate Students Library, it's a great motivator, and workshops also. You can also put that in your LinkedIn, in your curriculum, so people like to be recognized for their work, and I think that's essential. At last, I think when people see results, when people see that the organization is going somewhere, that you have achieved, you have some conquests, people get more motivated to help, because baby steps are important, so you get to the bigger picture. I think that was it.
Great. Seems that answer was appreciated. So thank you, Anna and Anna, very much for that. We're gonna move along to our final presentation of the day, and that is from our members in Colombia at AMET. So I'm going to pass the word over to Lina and Daniela, who will be talking for you. Go ahead, please.
Guys, I'm going to share my screen right now.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Lina, and with my partner Daniela, we are going to present you the Climate Diary project and some activities of that in the AMETS group we do. Next, please. Today, the topics to be discussed are: first, an introduction; second, the Climate Diary; third, the environmental day activities; and this last one are questions and answers. Okay, we are AMET, a group of environmental engineering students from the Universidad Nacional de Colombia, which aims to work on environmental issues and in the context of our university, and to help guide our mates in their career process. There are approximately 30 people right now. This year, we carry out a project related to climate change and the everyday actions that people can take to mitigate this issue. In this manner, we call the project Climate Diary, where people could share their own experiences and thoughts about this global problem. We had the support of Sustainable Campus, which is a program that the university has to promote sustainable actions, and a department of the university for student initiatives, from whom we receive funding. The goal of this project was to know students' perceptions about climate change and their awareness of daily actions. To achieve this, we designed a survey answered by 234 students of different careers of the university. As a result of this survey, where that most of the students think that a climate change is real. This is reflected by the decrease of the quality of life and the increase of the natural disasters. Both affect the people's health. Also, positive results were obtained because the students are available to change some of their habits. Next, please. We also interview teachers of different subjects like biology, environmental law, and geology in order to generate videos in which they can talk about some issues about climate change. And we add some of their ideas at the end of the guideline.
And we share information about climate change on amid social media. Next, please. Some posts talk about emission of greenhouse gases, like this one, and impacts of productive activities. And about sustainability. Next, we finally construct a guideline dividing intersections, the results of the student survey. And the second section, we include 15 questions and their respective answers, which talk about some concepts and climate change facts. And the third one consisted in, of a guide about daily actions that contribute to climate change mitigation with 3 levels of difficulty. Next, please. Okay, and our activities of environmental days, parallel to the previous project, we did different virtual activities during this year related to environmental dates, such as World Water Day, March 22, we did a cineforum about the documentary Cuando Deje de Llover of Tina Marie Weaver, in which we talk about the water cycle and our water footprint. On International Day of Peace and Struggle, April 17, we also did a forum about the movie Su Merced of Victoria Solano that shows the life of 3 peasants who fought to protect the moors of Cundinamarca, a department of our country, through education, politics, and community work. On International Day of Biological Diversity, May 22, we talk about the biodiversity of our country with Jaime Garizabal, a biology teacher who is an ornithologist. And World Sustainable Gastronomy Day, June 18, we had a cooking class of vegetarian dishes, which are alternatives to the traditional diet based on meat that has lower environmental impact too, to the requirement of resource during its ingredients production. Next. On May 4, we invited Paola Arias, a professor and a member of the International Panel of Climate Change, to take a conference to talk about climate crisis. And next Monday, we have another conference about climate crisis presented by our Professor Germán Poveda, another member of the IPCC. And thank you. That is all.
Thank you, guys. It's really quite a lot to take in. So we're very, very impressive with all of that. How I don't see any questions in the chat right now, so I'll pick one up right away. During how long a time have you been doing all of these things? Has it been over years or has it been shorter than that? Because there's so many different things.
It has been quite 1 year right now. So it has been a lot of time that we took, we achieved all of this. So every month we try to do some of this kind of activities with students that are part of the group or other groups that are in our university.
I have a quick question also. I remember you were presenting the sustainability guide project. And so did you work on that as part of, because you're obviously studying related fields, did you do that like as a part of your studies, or was that just for your organization? And how did it have a lot of people been using it and reading it?
Well, we did it only for our organization. It was not like a student project, but we had a lot of support of our professors and other departments in our university. We finished the guide last month, so we haven't shared it. We are going to have a socialization event in November, I think, yeah, in November. So we are going to share it, and Sustainable Campus, which is the department that's like the sustainable department in our university, is going to share it in their page. So we are going to put it on the chat on WhatsApp or maybe on Facebook to share it with Climate Students members.
Great. Yeah, maybe we can get more people. That's a way to have groups in the rest of Latin America and perhaps Spain as well. I assume it's in Spanish then, but yeah. But that's a good, great project. And please keep us updated, and we want to share it to all the Spanish-speaking people we know.
Yeah, we'll have an English version as well, but next year.
That would be amazing. All right, great. And I mean, since you're doing things every month, I feel like if anyone of our members have a lack of inspiration of what you do, we can always ask Ahmet, and you'll have a suggestion for something, because you have so many different things that you've been doing. So that's great to know. Do we have anyone else who want to have a reflection or a question for our Colombian friends? All right. Otherwise, maybe we'll move on to the final section of the conference here today. So we want to thank of course all of our member groups who were here to present, and we'll pass the word over to Anna and Isha, I suppose.
Yeah, can I go ahead, Isha?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, okay.
Do you want me to share the slides, or do you want to speak first, maybe?
Oh, you can share.
Okay.
Well, guys, this is a call to action section. I want to speak a little bit about something I heard from a climate activist from Europe. Her name is Zemzem Ibrahim. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to make it today, but she mentioned something that really opened my eyes about climate action, especially in colleges. Only 6 or 7% of the world's population have access to higher education, while 80% of decision makers and politicians have college degrees. So what are we doing with this privilege? Higher education is a privilege, especially here in Brazil. So we need to give back something to society, you know. So if we want to tackle climate change, if you want to tackle climate justice, any forms of discrimination in society, we have to start with the roots, with the institutions, with the system itself. And higher education institutions are fundamental in changing mindsets, and our institutions currently aren't creating leaders that are equipped to deal with the issues of the world. So we need to make these decision makers, the staff members, the directors of universities uncomfortable, because when we are uncomfortable, we do something about it. And when we are comfortable, nothing happens, nothing changes. So they need to be aware of the impact their decisions have in the world. So we are seeing all over the world climate strikes and young people that are teaching themselves on climate science and climate education. And they have clear demands on their governments, on their city halls. And because of these activists, they are constantly putting pressure that things are changing. So be the change maker in your local university, because we need to take climate education mindset throughout the world. And well, that was it. Be brave, be firm with your demands, and we'll tackle climate change together. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. I think that was a really good sharing and quite inspirational. Yeah, I think some of the earlier events we mentioned, it's basically here are the links for it. And I think I'll just send them on the group right after this. But essentially, we have the Act on Your Climate Science pre-launch for the campaign pre-launch. If you're interested, here's the link to it. And also, like we mentioned, I think Adam mentioned our next meeting in November, the introductory member meeting is going to be an open introductory meeting. So you can always join us, be a member and sign up as a member here using this link. But if you're unsure or you want to check it out first, you can sign up to join the meeting itself first. And we can invite you in and we can have more discussions on the 20th November to kind of find out more. And I guess the last thing is just basically these are our, we'll send out these slides later at the end of it, I think. So then you can also get access to our different social media platform. And if you'd like to join the Discord to start discussions and things like that, that's also a possibility. Let me just quickly send the link.
Should we take a picture also? My keyboard is not working, so if someone can take the print screen would be great. Let me give you some time to turn on your cameras. Let me see. Anyone else? Okay, I think we're ready to go. Adam, will you take the screenshot or Isha?
I can do it since Isha's posting links. So
Okay.
just yeah, be ready. 3, 2, 1. All right, let me just see so that actually became a picture. I think it probably did. Just a few seconds.
It's what's
yeah.
Okay, great.
It worked. So thank you guys for that. I think the links are still coming, so we can stick around a little bit to make sure to save the links. But other than that, we're done for this conference. We hope that you've got some good thoughts from our members, maybe some inspiration, and also, of course, feel free to contact us, write us an email, or join the November introductory meeting if you want to know more about the climate student movement. We want to keep growing and reach more parts of the world. So we're really happy for everyone who was here and hope to keep in touch with you as we go along.
Stay tuned to our socials because we'll publish the links there. So
thanks everyone. Have a good day. Bye bye.